When you say words are seeds of wealth, you are touching on one of the most powerful truths of creation. Every word spoken carries within it the potential to grow into a visible reality. Just as a farmer plants a seed in soil and trusts the invisible process that brings forth a harvest, every phrase you speak is planted into the soil of your subconscious and into the field of the universe. The ground does not question whether the seed is good or bad. It simply produces what was sown. In the same way, life does not argue with your words, it manifests them. If your words are filled with lack, doubt, and fear, those seeds grow into experiences of shortage, delay, and struggle. If your words are rich with faith, gratitude, and expectancy, those seeds bloom into opportunities, favor, and financial increase. The harvest always matches the seed. You cannot plant the words of poverty and expect the fruit of abundance. That is why the tongue must be guarded as carefully as treasure. To speak is to sow. Every conversation, every declaration, every whispered phrase to yourself is planting something that will soon appear in your world. Words spoken in faith are golden seeds, and when they are nurtured by belief and gratitude, they must produce a harvest of wealth. Faith in words activates power because faith is the very breath that gives life to what you speak. Words alone can be mere sound, empty vibrations in the air, but when they are charged with faith, they become commands, decrees, irresistible forces that move the invisible into the visible. Faith is the substance that turns a simple sentence into a divine order that life must fulfill. Without faith, words fall to the ground. With faith, they rise like arrows of light, piercing through every obstacle until they manifest in form. Think of it this way: a seed without water will never sprout, no matter how perfect it is. Words are those seeds, and faith is the water that awakens them. A word spoken in doubt carries no creative weight, but a word spoken in faith becomes alive with power. When you declare, "Money flows to me in perfect ways," without faith it is only a phrase, but with faith it becomes a living law, and the universe begins arranging circumstances to deliver it. Faith also gives words authority. Authority is the difference between a whisper that is ignored and a command that must be obeyed. When you speak in fear, your words are like paper boats tossed about on water, weak and directionless. But when you speak with faith, your words are like ships with anchors, steady, commanding, purposeful. Faith tells the unseen, "This must come to pass," and the unseen responds. It is not about shouting louder or repeating endlessly. It is about the inner conviction that what you say is already true. Faith makes you speak not as a beggar hoping, but as a ruler declaring. And when you carry that certainty in your words, money cannot resist the pull. Opportunities, people, and ideas align to fulfill the decree. Faith is the hidden electricity that turns the light of words on, flooding your life with the brightness. The creative blueprint of language is the invisible design that shapes the visible world of money, opportunity, and wealth. Every word spoken is not just a sound, it is an architect's line, a stroke on the canvas of destiny. Just as no building rises without a blueprint, no financial reality appears without first being drafted by words. When you say, "I am always struggling with money," you are drawing plans for struggle. When you declare, "I live in a universe of unlimited supply," you are sketching out a structure of abundance. The blueprint may be unseen, but it is exact, and life follows it with precision. Language does not simply describe reality, it creates it. The house you live in, the clothes you wear, the balance in your account, these are the built forms of blueprints you have been sketching with your tongue. And here is the great secret. The blueprint does not ask whether you mean what you say in jest or in seriousness. It only records and constructs. That is why idle words, casual phrases, and repeated complaints carry such power. Every time you joke about being broke, every time you sigh about bills, every time you mutter, "Money is so hard to come by," you are revising your blueprint, reinforcing the design of limitation. Yet with the same tongue, you can redraw the entire plan. You can tear down the old design of poverty and build a new one of prosperity. Speak words that design freedom, expansion, joy, and ease. Speak as though you are the architect of a palace, not the builder of a prison. The blueprint of language is fluid. It shifts with every declaration you make. That is why one decision, one change of words can set in motion a new financial destiny. Consider this: a builder does not question the lines on the architect's paper. He follows them faithfully. In the same way, life does not argue with your words, it constructs them. If you keep drawing lack, lack will rise like walls around you. But if you draw abundance, abundance will rise with equal certainty. Language is your pen, faith is your ink, and the world is your construction site. The wealth you desire is already waiting for you to draft the design with your words. Money responds to expectancy because expectancy is the vibration that tells life what you are prepared to receive. Words alone can be empty, but words spoken with expectation carry an invisible pull, a magnetic current that draws wealth into your experience. When you speak of money with expectancy, you are not simply making noise. You are setting a tone, a frequency, a call to the unseen that says, I am ready, I am open, I am certain that supply is on its way. Expectancy is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between the promise and the manifestation. Think of the farmer who plants seed. He does not rise each morning wringing his hands in doubt, wondering if the crop will come. He expects the harvest. He waters the ground, he tends the soil, and he prepares his barns because he knows that the invisible laws of growth are already at work. In the same way, when you speak faith, build words about money, you must carry yourself as one who expects the harvest. Do not declare abundance and then live as if shortage is your lot. Expectation is not passive. It is active, it prepares, it anticipates, it makes room. Money cannot resist expectancy. When you expect it, you notice opportunities that others overlook. You attract conversations that open doors. You meet people who carry answers. Life bends to favor the one who is certain of provision. But when you doubt, when you speak hesitantly, when you rehearse failure, expectancy dissolves and money passes you by, waiting for a stronger signal. Expectancy is the magnet, and words are the charge that activates it. This is why you must declare with conviction, money flows to me in perfect ways, not as a hopeful wish, but as a settled fact. Speak with the confidence of one who knows the package is already in the mail, the check already in the account, the door already opening. Expectancy does not beg, it assumes. It does not wonder, it knows. It walks in the posture of certainty, and that posture calls wealth to appear. Expectancy transforms ordinary words into creative decrees. A child asking for food with expectancy is never denied by a loving parent. In the same way, when you speak with faith and expectancy, the universe rushes to supply your need. To expect is to command. To expect is to declare that nothing else will be accepted. And when your words carry that energy, money has no choice but to respond. Rejecting the language of lack is one of the greatest turning points in transforming your financial destiny. Because lack begins in the mouth long before it shows up in the bank account. Every complaint, every sigh of defeat, every casual phrase about shortage plants a seed of poverty in the unseen. When people say, I can't afford this, or money never lasts, or it's always a struggle, they are unknowingly drafting contracts with limitation. Life listens, the subconscious listens, the universe listens, and what is spoken in repetition becomes law to the speaker's experience. Words of lack open the door for more lack to walk in, and lack never comes alone. It brings with it worry, fear, and heaviness. To reject the language of lack is to take a deliberate stand with your tongue. It means you refuse to use words that describe shortage as permanent or inevitable. It means you do not give voice to fear when bills pile up. It means you silence the habit of joking about being broke or muttering about never having enough. You cannot play with lack in your words and then expect wealth to take you seriously. Abundance comes where it is welcomed, and lack is rejected at the gate of the tongue. This is not denial, this is discipline. You may see the bills, you may feel the weight of debt, you may know the challenges, but you refuse to glorify them with your words. Instead, you speak higher truths. You say, "This is temporary, but supply is eternal." You declare, "I am provided for in ways beyond my understanding." You replace every phrase of fear with a decree of abundance. This is how you dismantle the power of lack. You starve it by refusing to feed it with your speech. Rejecting lack is also an act of honor. It is honoring the source that has already provided for you in countless ways. To complain is to forget the gifts you already hold. To speak shortage is to dishonor the unseen river of provision that is always flowing. But to declare abundance even in the face of emptiness is to honor the greater truth, the higher law, the divine circulation of money that never ceases. When you refuse to use the language of lack, you align yourself with the current of plenty, and that current must sweep into your affairs. Every time you catch yourself about to speak a word of limitation, stop and substitute it. Instead of "I can't afford this," say, "I choose to wait for the perfect time and the perfect provision." Instead of "I never have enough," say, "My supply is unlimited and more is always coming." Instead of "It's so hard to make money," declare, "Money finds me with ease, in joyful and expected ways." By rejecting lack in your language, you reject it in your life. The shift may seem small, but words are never small. They are seeds, and the harvest they bring is always greater than the seed itself. Declarations as identity are the most powerful words you will ever speak, because when you declare "I am," you are not describing a passing moment. You are defining yourself, and what you define yourself as, life must reflect. Words like "I am broke," "I am unlucky with money," or "I am always struggling," are not just careless phrases, they are blueprints of identity that carve themselves deep into the subconscious. Once you accept them, your actions, your opportunities, and even the people around you unconsciously align to make them true. The universe takes your declaration as instruction and mirrors it back to you in your finances. But there is a higher way. When you use "I am" as the doorway of faith, you clothe yourself in a new financial identity. To say "I am wealthy," even before wealth shows up in your account, is to lay claim to a truth greater than appearances. You are not lying, you are prophesying. You are speaking to the identity of your future self and calling it into the present. When you declare "I am prosperous, I am favored, I am richly supplied," you engrave prosperity into your very being. These are not empty words. They are commands, and identity commands destiny. Identity precedes manifestation. Before a tree bears fruit, it is first established as a tree. Before a river flows, it is first carved as a channel. Likewise, before money can fill your life, your words must establish you as one who has, one who receives, one who lives in abundance. If your declarations deny your worthiness, you will unconsciously sabotage the very opportunities sent to prosper you. But when your declarations affirm your identity as wealthy, you rise into alignment with the flow of money. You stop chasing supply and begin attracting it, because identity always attracts its own kind. Every "I am" becomes a garment you wear. If you say "I am always behind," you put on the garment of debt and life dresses you accordingly. But if you say "I am always provided for," you put on the garment of sufficiency and provision clothes you. The world responds to the clothing of your words. People treat you according to what you declare yourself to be. Opportunities present themselves to match the identity you have claimed. Even the invisible currents of life bend toward your self-declaration. This is why declarations as identity are not occasional affirmations. They are daily confessions that weave prosperity into the fabric of who you are. When you wake in the morning and say, "I am wealthy," you set the tone for the day. When you face a challenge and say, "I am victorious in every situation," you shift the energy around you. When you pay a bill and declare, "I am richly supplied and circulation multiplies my money," you speak as one who knows their identity is abundance itself. There is no stronger decree than "I am." Choose your declarations carefully, for they are not just words. They are labels, titles, identities, and truths that your world must echo. Refuse to let fear define you. Refuse to let lack name you. Speak only what you desire to embody. As you declare yourself to be wealthy, favored, and prosperous, your identity transforms, and once your identity shifts, your financial reality cannot help but follow. The law of substitution in speech is one of the greatest secrets of turning the tide of your financial story, because the mind cannot hold two opposite thoughts at the same time. When a word of fear rises, when a phrase of lack presses at your lips, you have the power to substitute it with a word of faith, abundance, and certainty. This law is simple yet profound. You do not fight darkness, you turn on the light. You do not argue with fear, you replace it. You do not wrestle with poverty, you substitute it with wealth in your speech. Many people spend years battling negative words they have spoken, rehearsing guilt, regretting past declarations, and wondering why change is so slow. But the law of substitution gives you a shortcut. In the very moment lack tries to escape your lips, you can cancel its power by replacing it instantly. When you hear yourself saying, "I can't make ends meet," stop and say, "I live in divine supply, and there is always more than enough." When you catch yourself sighing, "It's so hard to find money," substitute it with, "Money finds me with ease in perfect time and in perfect ways." The substitution is like erasing the old blueprint and sketching a new one before the builder lays another brick. This law works because words create impressions on the subconscious mind, and the subconscious does not argue. It accepts what is repeated. If you let a phrase of lack stand unchallenged, it roots itself and begins to grow. But when you substitute quickly, you do not allow the negative to take hold. You plant a higher seed, and the subconscious embraces the new truth. Over time, the old language of limitation withers, and the new language of abundance takes root so deeply that it becomes your automatic response. The law of substitution is not about pretending, it is about choosing. You are not denying what your eyes see, you are deciding what your words will create. You may look at an empty wallet, but you declare, "Wealth is on its way to me now." You may face a large bill, but you say, "Every bill is already paid by divine provision." In that moment, you have chosen substitution. You have replaced fear with faith, lack with plenty, heaviness with assurance. Every time you substitute, you strengthen the muscle of mastery over your tongue. You train yourself to become the architect of abundance rather than the reporter of circumstance. You learn to speak as one who commands wealth rather than one who complains about shortage. And soon, the substitutions become so natural that lack cannot even form itself on your lips. What once felt like discipline turns into instinct, and your speech becomes a steady river of prosperity declarations. This is the beauty of the law of substitution. You do not have to wait years to change your money story. Every new word you choose is already shifting the blueprint. Every substitution is a step into abundance. And as you continue, word by word, phrase by phrase, your entire financial atmosphere transforms. By replacing the language of fear with faith-filled speech, you build a new reality, one where money flows freely, opportunities appear constantly, and prosperity becomes the natural echo of your daily words. The magnetism of gratitude spoken aloud is one of the most overlooked yet most powerful forces for drawing money into your life. Gratitude in the heart is beautiful, but gratitude on the tongue is magnetic. When you give voice to thankfulness, you send out a vibration that multiplies everything it touches. Silent appreciation shifts your energy, but spoken appreciation shifts the atmosphere. It calls more to itself, for whatever you celebrate with your words expands. Every time you say, "Thank you for the money I have," you are watering the seed of wealth already in your life. You acknowledge that provision is present, and acknowledgement is the signal that tells the universe you are ready for more. The spoken word of gratitude is like a beacon of light. It shines so brightly that opportunities, resources, and financial blessings cannot help but be drawn toward it. Just as a magnet pulls iron, gratitude pulls wealth. And here lies the secret. Gratitude is not only for what is visible, it is for what is yet unseen. When you say aloud, "Thank you for the money on its way," you align yourself with expectancy. You act as though the harvest has already arrived, and because words create reality, the harvest begins to rush toward you. The more you give thanks for what you cannot yet see, the faster it takes form. Gratitude, spoken aloud, collapses the distance between the invisible and the visible. Complaints push money away, but gratitude calls it closer. The tongue cannot serve two masters. It either speaks lack or it speaks abundance. When you choose gratitude, even in small things, a paid bill, a meal, a kind gesture, you set in motion a law of multiplication. Gratitude says, "I see what has been given, I celebrate it, and I am ready for more." And life responds by adding more, because what is appreciated expands. Spoken gratitude also reshapes the subconscious. Every thank you say is a reminder to your inner world that you are not in shortage but in supply. It erases the old programming of never enough and replaces it with the deep knowing that abundance is constant. Over time, gratitude becomes the natural language of your lips, and lack loses its hold because you cannot speak thanks and fear at the same time. Make gratitude your daily practice. When you wake, say, "Thank you for the flow of money in my life." When you spend, say, "Thank you for the circulation that returns multiplied." When you receive, say, "Thank you for the generosity of the universe." Speak gratitude in every circumstance, not only for what you see, but for what you know is coming. This spoken thanksgiving becomes an irresistible magnet, drawing supply, favor, and opportunity until your whole life shines with abundance. Confidence and calm in speech are two of the greatest signs that your words are filled with faith. Desperate words repel money, but calm, steady words draw it in. When you speak with anxiety, you confess doubt. When you speak with confidence, you announce certainty. Money responds not to begging but to assurance. The energy behind your words is as important as the words themselves. A trembling voice says, "I hope it happens," but a calm voice says, "It is already mine." One creates delay, the other summons fulfillment. Think of the difference between a beggar and a ruler. A beggar pleads, hoping someone might hear. A ruler declares, knowing the decree will be carried out. Your speech reveals which one you believe yourself to be. When you say, "Money is coming to me," with a tone of panic, you secretly affirm that money is absent. But when you say, "Money flows to me freely and perfectly," with quiet confidence, you declare that abundance is already present, unfolding in divine order. Calm words carry weight, authority, and magnetism. Confidence in speech does not mean arrogance. It means alignment. You are aligned with the higher law of supply, so you do not waver. Just as a farmer does not shout at the soil to hurry, but waits with assurance, so do you speak your words and rest in their power. You know that the seed of your declaration is already at work beneath the surface. You do not need to push or plead. You only need to affirm with certainty. That certainty becomes a magnet that attracts the very wealth you have spoken. Calm words also quiet the storms within. When bills arrive, when deadlines press, when circumstances look contrary, the temptation is to speak in fear, but faith chooses calm. Faith says, "This too shall pass. Supply is already on its way." The calmness of your words creates calmness in your mind, and calmness in your mind keeps the channels of supply open. Worry clogs them, confidence clears them. A calm declaration, spoken in the face of chaos, is one of the strongest magnets for money, for it shows that you trust the unseen more than the visible. Practice this. Before you speak a word about money, breathe. Center yourself in the truth that abundance is infinite and flowing. Then let your words come forth slowly, steadily, with authority. Declare, I am richly supplied. Money finds me at the right time, in the right way. Feel the calm in your tone. That calm is a signal to life itself, saying, I am not shaken, I am established, I am certain. And life responds by matching that certainty with provision. Confidence and calm in speech transform your declarations from weak wishes into creative laws. They anchor your words in faith and give them magnetic force. Speak with calm authority and watch as money bends to your voice, obeys your decree, and flows into your life with ease. Silence as a shield, speech as a sword. This is the wisdom of knowing when to refrain and when to declare. Not every thought deserves your voice, and not every feeling should be spoken. Silence becomes your shield when fear, worry, and lack try to rise up within you. If you cannot yet find words of faith, better to remain silent than to speak words that create more lack. A careless statement like, I'll never have enough, is more destructive than silence. Silence, in moments of doubt, protects you from scattering seeds of poverty into your own future. It keeps the soil of your life free from weeds that reckless speech would plant. Yet speech, when wielded with intention, is your sword. Words cut through limitation, slice away fear, and carve pathways for prosperity to enter. A sword does not whisper its strikes with precision. So too should your declarations. When bills intimidate, you lift your sword and say, I am abundantly supplied and every need is met. When fear tries to corner you, you answer, I walk in wealth and nothing can withhold what is mine. Your words pierce the illusion of lack and enforce the truth of abundance. The balance is in knowing which to use. When emotions run high and you are tempted to vent, remember the shield. Protect yourself with silence until you can speak from faith. But when faith fills your heart, do not remain quiet. Draw your sword. Declare boldly, for a declaration withheld is a victory delayed. There is a time to protect your energy with silence and a time to release power through speech. Both are sacred. Both are weapons in your hand. Silence gives your words potency. A sword never strikes without the stillness of preparation. In the same way, your declarations gain strength when they emerge from the quiet confidence of your inner being. Moments of silence deepen your faith. Then, when you speak, your words ring with authority. It is not constant chatter that creates abundance. It is measured, intentional faith, filled speech that cuts through resistance and commands supply. So, guard your mouth when fear tempts you, and use your tongue as a blade when faith strengthens you. Let silence shield you from negativity, and let speech serve as your sword of creation. With this balance, you walk protected and empowered, never at the mercy of circumstance, but always directing it with wisdom. ChatGPT said, living your words daily is the ultimate practice of turning faith into reality. Words are not meant to be occasional. They are not mere phrases uttered in a moment of hope or desire. They are the constant language through which you shape your life, the rhythm by which your financial destiny is written. To live your words daily means that every thought, every statement, every conversation is aligned with abundance, prosperity, and faith. It is not enough to speak declarations once in a while. Your tongue must carry the story of wealth as consistently as the sun rises. When you rise in the morning, let your first words set the tone for the day. Speak to yourself, aloud or silently, with clarity and authority. I am abundantly supplied. Money flows to me freely. Opportunities come to me with ease. Let these words echo through your mind and into your actions. Throughout the day, watch your tongue. Replace casual complaints with statements of provision. Correct limiting thoughts before they find their voice. Your daily speech becomes a river, and what flows continuously cannot help but carve valleys of wealth and hills of opportunity in your life. Living your words daily also means consistency under pressure. When challenges arise, bills, deadlines, unexpected expenses, your words must remain faithful. Speak not of fear or lack, but of resolution and abundance. I am provided for. Every need is met. Supply comes to me from expected and unexpected sources. The power of your declarations is multiplied when you maintain them in adversity, for resistance strengthens the creative force behind your speech. Words spoken in calm, repeated faith become laws that life cannot ignore. This daily practice transforms ordinary life into a living testament of abundance. Your words become the lens through which you see the world and the magnet that draws circumstances to match your declarations. Speak wealth daily, and soon your environment, opportunities, and interactions begin reflecting that truth. Even your subconscious mind, which is always listening, begins to operate in alignment with your declarations. Your words shape not only the world outside but also the world within. The key is deliberate repetition. Words are not magic only once. They gain power with consistency. Morning, noon, and night, let your language proclaim provision. Let gratitude and faith be the accent in every sentence. Let your declarations define your identity, shape your actions, and attract supply. The life you experience is nothing more than the echo of the words you consistently speak. When you live your words daily, you do more than hope for abundance. You command it, embody it, and draw it into form through the unceasing power of spoken faith.